if there is one person in all the government who could be, shall we say, the worst at dropping gaffes, ultimately prize number one would be Boris Johnson. He is the gaffer in chief, I suppose, would be the best title, I think, to give him. But ultimately, of course, it is a very, very, I'd say, hard-fought second place between Liz Truss and Nadine Dorries. But I'll tell you this now, Nadine Dorries is trying her hardest not only to cement herself in second place, but I think very, very definitely giving Boris a really good run for his money to claim that much coveted title of Gaffer-in-Chief. And certainly her recent comments, which we'll go over just in a bit, are very, very evident of this is what she's trying to do. But I have a bit of sympathy for old Nadine in this case, because let me tell you a story of teenage me. You see, as you can guess through my background, I'm a Yorkshire lad. Come from Yorkshire in Barnsley, but we're not big rugby players or rugger players, I suppose, if the posh term is to use it in Barnsley. And in my younger years, we were, very big on the old football. That's what we played. And then, of course, I went to secondary school in Wakefield. And of course, Wakefield, very, very, very well known for its rugby roots. And of course, I still remember our very first couple of PE games where they tossed us this bizarre shaped ball. And I'm looking at it and I'm going, sir, what do I do with this bizarre shaped football? And of course, even to this day, I couldn't tell you the difference between rugby league and rugby union, but here's at least one of the main takeaways. I would not go to an event and start telling people with some extreme authority about what I knew about rugby league or rugby union, because what I could tell you about rugby league or rugby union probably wouldn't even fill one side of A4, let alone at least maybe a paragraph. I still don't really know the difference between the two, but I would at least prepare. And ultimately, one of the things that we know that has been brought up quite regularly by junior ministers in her department is that no matter how much they try to brief her, she does not read the briefs. She does not care to listen during when she's being briefed or anything like that. So ultimately, every time she does a gaffe or anything like that, it always comes out immediately after. She did not read the brief. She did not pay attention. So let's get into her comments on this rugby league matter, or as some people are calling it, an absolute rugby league clanger. So before we do that, though, please do remember to press that like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a motivation link called Buy Me Coffee. You can well buy me a coffee. And as always, thank you very much to all those people who do help and support the channel that way. So over we go to the HuffPost talking about this. The title of Gaffe-Prone Nadine Dorries drops the ball with rugby league clanger. Nadine Dorries has dropped the ball again. The Culture Secretary caused a backlash after confusing rugby league with the rival sport rugby union at an event in the sport's heartlands. Dorries stunned a rugby league audience in St Helens by referring to Johnny Wilkinson's match-winning drop goal in the England for the 2003 Rugby Union World Cup in Sydney. Dorries, whose full brief as Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, was speaking at a lunch of a report into the social impact made by the 2021 Rugby League World Cup at the Portico Vine Community Club. And this is just one of the tweets that followed, saying, at the Rugby League World Cup press conference today, Nadine Dorries, Secretary of State for Sport, is special guest, said, I've always liked the idea of rugby league. That drop goal in 2003 was such a splendid moment. That drop goal was actually in the Rugby Union World Cup. And of course, there's the audio. A lot of people have seen it. With saying, of course, what she had to say here. I've always quite liked the idea of rugby league, she said. My long-standing memory is that of the 2003 drop goal. I'll let you into a secret. I think we were drinking Bloody Marys at the time. It was 11 o'clock in the morning, but wow, what a moment that was. Again, highlighting the fact of Nadine Dorries, very, very apparently from what we've heard, and of course the figure in that she certainly cuts, very heavy drinker there. Anyway, she continues. I've always heard, and I know from my limited watching, that it was an incredible physical and sometimes brutal sport, and often end up in a scrum, which actually reminds me very much of politics. I think we have a lot in common, and given a lot of the media like to call me the Prime Minister's attack dog, I wonder sometimes if I should give rugby a go. And of course, she did try and fix her gaffe later on. Dorries attempted to make light of the facts pass by saying on Twitter that she may have, quote, switched codes like John Robinson. Like Jason Robinson. But the former England rugby union player and broadcaster, Brian Moore, led the criticism online tweeting, saying, when I was told about this, I had to ask if it was a parody. But Dorries is beyond parody. She doesn't bother to master her brief, and she isn't clever enough to compensate. Given the context, this is probably the stupidest mistake you could make. And bear in mind, that is, as it was said earlier in the article, in that piece, that was like the home of that particular, of the rugby league. And yet you go and you confuse rugby league with rugby union. Now, I've said, and I will admit before, I don't know the difference between rugby league and rugby union. To me, it's just people throwing a ball about, not the biggest sports person. But if I was, Secretary of State for Culture, Media and Sport, and I was going to go to this event, I would at least read up. I would make damn sure that I knew the difference. And as was pointed out here, Dorries does not know. She is not smart enough or clever enough that when something like that happens, she can't just cement it over and just say, oh, no, I was just, having a laugh, having a jape with you. No, she really isn't smart enough. This is a classic example of Nadine Dorries being Nadine Dorries, being an absolute buffoon, and thank God she's not in, shall we say, a position where, well, she could actually do some serious damage. At least she's not like, the Foreign Secretary or Home Secretary or, something in a position where she could do some serious damage. But who knows? Who knows what the future may bring? But of course, thank you very much for watching. Please do remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button on your way out. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a world notification link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can, buy me coffee. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you all next time.